Welcome to the INTJ Equation, a channel on psychology and typology from the lens of a healthy INTJ. My name is Jeff, and I'll be your host tonight. Today, I am joined by an ENTP, and she goes by PorknSheep. She's kind of elusive, so I'll let her introduce herself vaguely as she would like, I guess.
I don't have any really introduction to make.
Okay.
I comment under this name on Reddit, MBTI subreddits, and that's it. Even on Reddit, I have different accounts for different things. For example, Astrology, I have a different account. For Manosphere content, I have different account because people like to go through they like to go through people's history and kind of judge based on what they're interested in, and it has nothing to do with the current state. So that's really it. I'm just somebody that's interested in MBTI.
Okay, very cool. And you are an ENTP, so you'll disclose that. Can you give us your experience in your own words?
I think that before I knew what it was, and I learned what it was maybe over 10 years ago. And at the beginning, when I first learned MBTI, I don't know how I got into it. I have no memory of how I got into it, but it was a long time ago, back when everybody knows Personality Cafe was like popular. And so back then I mistyped as an ENTJ because all I did was take a test on the internet, and the tests are always wrong. And I thought that it was similar to me because I knew I was extroverted, and I knew I was a thinker, an extroverted thinker, and an intuitive. However, I was not a judger, I was a perceiver. And so after a few years of mistyping as ENTJ, I lost interest in MBTI. And then about a year ago, I got back into it. And when I got back into it, of course, I took the new tests and everything. And I don't know how I got INTJ. And then I thought, that doesn't sound right. So I started to go through the types, and I found the ENTP description, and I almost fell off the chair. I just started laughing. I was just like, it was so traumatic. It was so dramatic. I was just like, this is so me. Like, I'm almost all of the, I guess people call them negative ENTP stereotypes. I don't see them as negative, but they do suit me, almost textbook. Like, a lot of people like to say, oh, ENTPs are, I know ones that are really nice and like to use FE over TI. No, I use TI over FE all the time. And I enjoy using TI, and I enjoy other ENTP and ESTPs that use TI. But just from my experience in the world, yeah, a lot of people don't appreciate it. And it doesn't bother me that other people don't appreciate it. But I continue to do what I am, I guess.
Yeah, I appreciate ENTPs that use TI rather than FE. They just seem kind of fake when they're using their INI and FE over and over again, just like
what happens with any FE ENTPs is that they will say or do something that's very direct and very true and makes other people uncomfortable. And then when other people react negatively, they like back down. And then they go like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Or I didn't say it like that. Or I didn't mean it like that. And for me, I don't know. I don't like fake.
Mm-hmm. So they're a little bit on edge because I guess they're used to, I guess INTJs have had this experience too, just kind of blurting something out and being very blunt about it. And they're trying
I get it when you're younger. So I can always give, for example, teenagers. I know a couple ENTPs that are teenagers, and it's really hard to be a teenager in general, regardless of whatever type you are. But I think that is really, as you get older and become an adult, I think that you kind of have to learn to accept yourself. And I would say I got the most abuse for my personality when I was younger. So when I was in my early 20s, I got the most abuse for it because I grew up in a time 10 years ago. This is when the internet was big, where everybody was offended about everything, and you're not allowed to say that, and you're not allowed to do that, and how dare you? And so I feel like for ENTPs, you live in a world where nobody has met you or somebody like you because ENTPs are not common enough. So other behaviors, I guess we can say, seem normal, but is it that is normal, or is it that we live in a society where that behavior is so pervasive that it becomes the norm? So then you meet a person that's an ENTP or ESTP. And I said the other day to somebody in a comment, ENTPs are like human reality checks. Like, you will not get away with anything. Or I will at least call you out on it. Like, listen, do what you want, but let's agree that this is what it is. And I find that, a lot of people just don't like to be aware of themselves and their behavior and their motivations, even though it's kind of obvious, as we are supposed to kind of ignore. And I find that intuitive thinking types all see it, but we're not allowed to talk about it. And I disagree.
Yeah, where I work right now, SIFETE kind of place, and it's just they try to make it one big happy family, and I just
So I
don't.
said to somebody asked the other day on Reddit, uh, does it seem like introverted feeling is not a desirable trait to have in society? And I said, it's not that it's not desirable, it's just that FE, SI, and TE are more desired. So every other function has to learn how to fit in to that reality. It's not that it's worse off, it's just not accepted. And I agree with you. A lot of people are very FE, SI, TE, and I can't stand it, which is why I do what I do. Like somebody has to cause trouble. And if it's going to be me, I'm at least have fun. So I have at least I have the advantage of working in a workplace. It's just me and my boss is an ISFJ. And you know, ENTPs and ISFJs get along really well. I've always known ISFJs. I've always attracted ISFJs or INFJs. And I can say and do whatever I want. And I do every day.
Really, around an ISFJ, that's your duality. So there's like,
right.
I never really got along with my ESFP dual side, but some people swear that they get along with them. I don't get it.
I get along with them under certain circumstances. And I think that the difference between like INTJs and ENTPs is that ENTPs can kind of be really flexible with all kinds of people. Like I will meet somebody that I don't really like, but I can talk to you like normal. I don't like you, so I'm gonna treat you different kind of attitude. It's not that strong in me. I can still talk to you as normal, but I wouldn't call you if I wanted to talk, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think INTJs, I think till they really mature, they lack that. If I just don't like somebody, I just don't like somebody. I can't hide it. I don't have that FE to put that mask
I agree.
on.
Exactly. That's true.
Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like it's been kind of turbulent. You said that you got a lot of abuse in your 20s. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
I would say early 20s. I would say it came from when I would interact because I went to college. I would interact. I would say I didn't know I was an ENTP. You wouldn't know I was an ENTP until I left my childhood home in that kind of environment. So I wouldn't say I have memories of it being obvious I was ENTP, but the reason I thought I was an INTJ is because I was extremely introverted and quiet into myself my entire childhood. And people, when they meet me now, they don't think that could ever possibly be true. But at school, I didn't talk to people, and that's because kids are terrible. Kids are terrible. Oh, even as a little kid, my earliest memory is being in pre-kindergarten and just turning around. Like I didn't talk to anybody. I turned physically my whole body around and I refused to talk to anybody. And so through high school, I didn't really have that kind of person, but it mostly stemmed from just my childhood being trash, like just trash in every way. But when I moved out and I went to college, I moved away, moved into a dormitory, all the stress that holds a person down is relieved. And so you get to be free and you get to become yourself. And so a lot of people say, oh, ENTPs are really bad when they're young, but I never had that period of kind of really being overly ENTP until I was in my early 20s. And so at that time, I don't know, I just wanted to be able to talk about stuff directly and openly and freely. And this is what you are doing right now. Don't bullshit me. Like, I see what you're doing right now. I see this. This is the kind of person you are. And I find that people don't really like I said, over awareness of people's behavior and motivations. It's kind of like they want you to kind of like, let's look to the side. Let's turn to the side and not notice things so directly. And I find that a lot of ENT, for me specifically, people just didn't like it. And so what would happen was they wouldn't like it. And so other people would join in on the bandwagon of not liking it. And it would just be like, there's nothing wrong with having an opinion. There's nothing wrong with having an opinion other people disagree with. You know, there's nothing wrong with telling the truth. There's nothing inherently wrong. And I think that a lot of times people tried to make it seem like that was a problem. And there was this one incident that I remember because no matter where I go, I always end up notorious. Even online, I end up notorious. So there was this one incident. I worked a college job and I showed up every day for this job, 30 hours a week. And I was a full-time student for how many years? 3-4 years, never missed a day, never was late, never didn't do my job ever, not even once. And so I remember the people that were so sensitive about everything, like every little thing. And so I remember they just didn't like me. And it became like let's all join together and dislike this. But you know how people are followers. And so I had an older woman that worked there. She was an SFJ, and like we could just talk, and she understood my point of view. Like people are kind of being unfair to you, and we would talk. And she told me, I remember this one incident one day. She told me a day I wasn't there that a group of the people, other students that worked there, were all gathered together, and they were all talking bad about me. And she's like, they were all saying all kinds of stuff about you behind your back and blah blah blah. And then she said, one person stood up for you though, and the person who stood up for me was ENTJ. He
What
came.
type?
He was a ENTJ. He was a manager there, and he was all about his business. And he doesn't care about anything but his business. And so he heard them talking bad about me, and so he stopped them and said, "What has she done to you specifically?" And so I said, "Well, what did they say?" And she was like, "They didn't say anything." So it's kind of like that attitude where I track that a lot. Where give me a detailed breakdown what I did to you specifically, and people oftentimes can't.
Yeah, they're just kind of that. I think that FE and that even at TE and SE, they just kind of bounce off each other and absorb that, and there's a lynch mob formed like instantly.
Exactly. And I'm the kind of person where even if I don't like you, if I see other people ganging up on you, like I'm gonna take your side. I don't like that. If one person dislikes a person for a good reason, that's fine. That's their business. Ain't got nothing to do with me. But when other people join in and then it becomes we all making fun of you, I don't like that. Like if you gonna make fun of somebody, go directly by yourself and deal with the consequences. But you know how some people are weak and they like to join in only when it's a group.
Yeah.
That happens to me a lot. But the difference is that I'll fight back.
Yeah.
Like I have words. I will fight back.
It's been a reoccurring theme in my life too. I kind of have the same circumstance too at the job I'm at. I have an ISFJ that I kind of vent with and we talk, and she's older.
ISFJs are really smart.
Yeah.
Because they have that TI, even though the thing about ISFJs and INFJs that I don't like in the end is that FE parent. Like they a little bit two-faced. In private, you can talk to them. They see what you see. This is bullshit. That's not right. This person is doing this wrong. But then in public, they switch.
Yeah. I think she's a little older and wiser. Like I have an ISFJ sister and we never really got along too well. So I can definitely see where you say that they're two-faced for sure.
I think that they have more discomfort telling the truth in front of other people. They have a harder time causing disharmony. And for me, it's like I love disharmony. We can get some stuff out in the air if we got some disharmony going.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that FE just kind of, and that SI too, just kind of gets them. Can't have it. All right. So some other stuff that you're into is astrology. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So astrology is the same. A lot of what people know about astrology is like horoscopes in magazines or newspapers and stuff like that. And what a lot of people don't know about astrology is like, that's not astrology.
Yeah.
And those horoscopes are not even written by real astrologers. And so what happened with astrology was the same thing as MBTI. I've always known my sun sign. And so I one day I just started looking it up, and then I started to learn that there's a whole damn chart, and there's other planets, and then there's aspects, and there's deacons, and there's connections. And I was just like, whoa, 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 whoa. And so I started to get back into astrology. I started reading some astrology books, but astrology is one of those things where it takes decades of experience to be good at it. And I think that so many people look at astrology and they judge it by horoscopes in newspapers. And it's like, what are you talking about? That's not even astrology, first of all. So for me, I started to read about it. I started to participate in astrology subreddits. And I even got a chart reading done by an astrologer with decades of experience. I've had it done twice because for me, people will say like, oh, well, you shouldn't get a chart reading done. It's all bullshit. I don't care what you think. I'm going to go do it myself, experience it myself, see it firsthand myself, and then judge whether or not it was worthless. And so I did an astrology chart reading. I tried to read my chart myself before that. And if you interest in astrology, yeah, that's impossible, first of all. And as a person who's read 1 or 2 or 3 books on astrology, I'm not even a little bit qualified at all. So I hired an astrologer. I had my chart read. And when I had it read, the astrologer didn't ask any questions. He asked, when were you born? What time were you born? Where were you born? And that was that. And he sent me my chart back. He started the meeting We did it online, and he just went through all of it. It took like an hour. He just talked. I didn't say anything. I didn't respond. You couldn't even see my face on the screen. He just talked and explained what he saw in the chart. And it was just like, how do you know my childhood was bad? How do you know how I dealt with my childhood? How do you know? Like, how could he have known that and got it right? Multiple things just right. And he even knew, for example, my job now, I like my job now, but I need to grow. I need to move on. I've been working my job now for 9 years. And I like my job. I like my boss. We friends and everything, but like I need to expand. She at ISFJ, she likes to maintain. I need to expand. And so he was like, you thinking of moving on to something else? And I was just like, how did you know that? So for me, astrology is interesting. It's something to think about. I would not make a major decision based on it. I would not judge another person based on it. But I think that if it gives you a tool like MBTI, like Big Five, and other personality tests, if it gives you a tool to kind of think about yourself in a different way and help you to improve yourself, I don't think it matters what it is. Who cares?
Yeah, like I don't know a lot about it either. Just spending the hours I've been talking to Xeon, the ENTJ that's been doing a lot of astrology projects with. I'm starting to kind of grasp it. What is your north and south node, if you recollect?
Oh, let me get my chart out.
That's what's really interesting.
I have it. See, I don't know much about the nodes.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about the planets and the placements and the signs and what they mean and the houses, but the nodes, let me see. I have the chart. Files. Where is it? It's definitely here. So I don't know too much about stuff like that, but I do know about my north node I know is in Pisces and south node is in Virgo. Here it is. Where's the damn chart at? Here it is. Oh my God. So my north node is this Pisces? Yeah, it's in Pisces and south node is in Virgo. And I have no idea what that means. I'm pretty sure I have my video recording of what the astrologer said about it. But at this moment, I don't know what it means.
You know, the house. I know Pisces kind of like a metaphysical thing. The north node's kind of like your destiny, like what you have to accomplish in life, and your south's kind of
the
like
house. The north node is the what is it? It's the two. It's like a ring with two dots at the bottom.
Looks like a head.
The house is in the
10th house,
and then the south is in the 4th.
I don't know. I'll have to ask Xeon, I guess, later after this. I'm curious now because we're like really like looking like, wow, like we just did a video with Kurt Cobain and how it looks a lot like an INFJ, and they pointed mine out where I look like an INTJ. It's really interesting, just not getting a big viewership.
Mine, if you excuse the north node, mine definitely is ENTP. My chart is definitely I was on ENTP. And a bunch of people mentioned having Sagittarius in a rising sign or the sun sign or the moon sign or like a house associated with it. And I was just like, I don't have any signs in Sagittarius. I have the descendant in Sagittarius, but my moon is in the 9th house of Sagittarius. And it's the tightest, connection that I have in my whole chart. But most of my chart is in Gemini. Which is the perfect for any Dom. Gemini is like the perfect type to suit that, or Sagittarius.
Yeah, Gemini is where my north node's at, like a people-oriented thing. It's really interesting now. What insights did you get from it? Did you get like any like revelations about yourself or anything like that?
So when I did the chart reading the first time was just about your entire life. So from birth until the time that I did it, and the time that I did it was around Saturn Return. Do you know Saturn Return?
Not familiar with that.
Saturn Return is when Saturn. So you have the planets like Mercury. They move quickly around the sun, and then you have Saturn. Saturn is huge and it moves very slowly. So it takes 30 years, 28 to 30 years to come back. So when it comes back, it's called Saturn Return, and what it means is you will take a scope of your entire life. And then usually people start to feel, for example, busy. Like what was good for me at 25 is no longer good at 28, 29. Like suddenly you feel the urge to make a big change. And for a lot of people, ages 20 to 30 is when people kind of want to get married. They want to have kids now. They want to get a new career. They want to open a business. It's like almost feels sudden. But in astrology, it's attributed to Saturn coming back and making you take stock. Is this what you want? And if it's not what you want, you need to change it now. And so I found that funny when he said that, because I was exactly that at that time period. And it was about kind of figuring out who I was and kind of, I don't know, I feel like I know who I am more now. And I didn't realize I didn't know who I was 10 years ago. But you know how you think you know what you are when you're 20 years old, you think you know. But I felt like after 10 years, I felt like I became a different person. And the astrologer really pointed that out. It wasn't that, the thing that I liked about my reading was that it was kind of acknowledging things that happen in your life not being your fault. And I think that people think that, like as a kid, you think that the way your parents behave is kind of your fault or you deserved it. And astrology, the way he took it was always supposed to play out that way in order for you to become what you had to become.
Yeah, things happen for a reason, and just like
so which was really strange, because I had that feeling a few months before I did the reading. So I had this feeling one day where I was just like, a lot of bad things happened in my life and a lot of unfair things happened. And, maybe some people got a better deal. I got the short end of the stick, maybe. And I don't know. I just felt like if all of that didn't happen, I wouldn't be who I am now. And I like who I am now. So if I had to do it twice, I don't know. I think I would.
absolutely, that's what Carl Jung was a big advocate of, like your shadow and the things that you happen, you have to learn to integrate it, and that's how you become. Like these people who have these like perfect pristine lives usually don't really amount to anything. It's the troubled people that had a troubled past. They kind of, they either overcome it or they don't.
I agree.
All right, very cool. All right, so you enlighten me a little bit on this red pill stuff. I guess it's like is it a Reddit thing, or what is it exactly? Can you tell the audience?
The red pill is called the manosphere. If you want to, it's like umbrella terms.
Manosphere. Okay.
Manosphere, a sphere about men. And I got into it. I don't see, this is the problem with SI inferior. You don't know where you find stuff. I have no detailed memory of where I find stuff or how I get into stuff, but I got into it. And of course I fell down a rabbit hole, and it was just like, there's so much stuff to see and do and read and comment on and be a part of that. I couldn't stop for 10 years ago. I was interested in it for about 2 years, and then I lost interest for a few years. And then just recently I got back into it. And the manosphere is a place, well, obviously for men, and it's a place for men to talk about relationships and how men are treated in the modern day, and about misandry. And a lot of people don't know the term misandry, which is it's the opposite of misogyny. Misogyny is against women, misandry is against men. A lot of people don't know that there's a terminology for it. For example, saying men are trash, or men deserve to be used, or men don't deserve to see their kids, or men should have to pay before you sleep with them, or they should have to take you on a date and pay all their money, and they should just deal with it. It's like that. It's about how men can be used, how society can tell men that women want men to behave a certain way, but then when you behave that way, women don't respond well to it.
Yeah.
It's about that reality.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? It's the reality that women try to tell men how women like to be dated, and it's like a lot of people are not aware of themselves. And so they will give you, right, a fish will not tell you how to catch it.
Yeah. Do not get dating advice from women if you're a guy.
Right. You understand? So the basic premise of it, I respect. So I was watching a video the other day, and somebody mentioned he's an ISTP on YouTube, and of course he doesn't follow anything that closely. He was in the red pill for like 5 years of his life, and he really liked it because it was a space where he could have his feelings validated. Like, I'm having these problems and I can't talk to anybody in real life, and this space validates me. And so, but at the end he realized it's a lot of toxic shit. But something he brought up was, it's a place where men can talk about male problems and be taken seriously, because, and he brought up like talk shows by women, and there's a lot of talk shows, almost every talk show is about women or by women, and it's all women in the audience, or the male talk show host is pandering to women. And it just kind of becomes like a repeating behavior where it becomes so normalized that anybody who feels kind of marginalized doesn't have anywhere to go. And so that's what the manosphere was first born out of. And I can agree to that point. That's fair. But it goes deeper than that, where it gets down to the fact that they just hate women. A lot of them just hate women. They have like a vengeance, a rage, a vindictiveness. We need to get back at you. And that's the part where I'm just like, y'all gotta, like, I can agree to one or two or three or four or five points that are very relevant. For example, a lot of men don't get custody of their kids if they get a divorce. Then that's not fair. It's not. A lot of family courts lean towards women having majority of the power, and that's not fair. I agree to that. But then they will start to pile up emotional BS on top of that to justify this one point that's relevant, because it comes out of emotion, right? Women do the same. Feminisms they do the same. But it's like y'all criticize women for doing it, and then y'all turn around and do the same. I don't know. I just find it interesting. I like to see other people's point of views, and I don't think that there is any bad information in the world or any bad point of view in the world. Everything should be considered. And I just enjoy it. I just enjoy watching it and reading it and seeing other people's opinion, because I think the world is made up of a lot of people, and that limiting point of view and living in echo chambers is dangerous for anybody, whether it's women or men. Regardless, living in echo chamber is bad.
So it doesn't really resonate with you in like a personal way. You just like to
Oh
see
no,
their
so
point of
nothing
view.
resonates with me in a personal way. So I don't understand how people attach strong feelings to things, and it probably comes from FI Polar, but I just don't get why y'all have to get so kind of, what is it, fervent about it. Y'all have to, for example, like a political, you've seen a political rally, how people are like screaming, waving banners, and just throwing a fit. I'm just like, I don't, like, maybe I like that politician. I don't get that energy. Why do y'all have such strong attachments to people and to things and to ideals? And it becomes dangerous, in my opinion. I don't believe in any of, I don't think that is 100% wrong, but I don't feel the need to say that it's not also highly problematic.
Yeah, I think it was Hitler. I could be wrong on this, but somebody said once you get people in a group, they stop thinking and they start feeling.
Isn't there like a bunch of evidence on that?
Yeah,
It's a
group.
bunch of evidence in where it's like self-replicating. And so even for me as a person who is really hard to influence, I'm really hard to influence. Like, I have accidentally fallen down some really bizarre rabbit holes, and I'll be like deep, and I'm just like, I will get much deeper than most people could tolerate, and then I'll finally be like, I've had enough, and I'll stop. But for me, I don't understand how that can happen. Like, I can understand that this is a phenomenon. When people get in groups, they start agreeing with each other. I can understand it intellectually, but I don't feel it. And I don't know what it's like to feel it or be that influenceable, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's something that INTJs are maybe even almost immune to, because we have FE trickster, FE polar, whatever you want to call it. We just don't really pick up on the atmosphere and emotions like that. Maybe it's something because you have low TE as an ENTP, possibly.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's bizarre to watch it. It's bizarre, and to see it kind of like happening in front of your eyes is bizarre. And so that's why, like I said, when I see a person being ganged up on, even if I don't like them, even if they wrong, they don't need 10 people to shout them down. One
Yeah.
person was enough. Now all y'all over here piling on. I don't like that.
It's traumatic. It's bad.
But if it happened to them, right, they wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to stand it. That's my biggest problem.
Yeah. It's horrible to have just, it's kind of scary just having all these people just pick you apart and you really didn't do anything personally to them.
Exactly. That happens to me all the time on the internet. It'll start usually with one person. For example, I was on a Red Pill forum about a month ago. I have a different account. And I was just giving my opinion on parts that just didn't make sense. Like, that's what I do. That what you saying, okay, I understand your opinion, but what about this, and this? At this point, your opinion has been unraveled. Just like, and people, after I commented on that account, I don't know, maybe a few hundred posts. And of course, I always become notorious. I can't help it. I don't know why. I'm infamous everywhere I go. And so what happened one day was a person responded and said, I don't understand why you can't write shorter posts. And I was just like, ma'am, this is the internet. Like, don't read it. Like, what are you saying? And so somebody else responded, like, your post, this is like back to back. One person responded, this wasn't a few hours later, this was at the same time. Somebody else responded, your posts are too long. You so arrogant. You think you always know what you're talking about. One person said to me, you are the kind of person who says things in a way that other people can't disagree. And I'm like, sir, you being very complicated about saying that I'm right. Just say that. and they all, it was like 5 or 6 people all together, make sure to post, I don't know, you think you smarter than everybody else. And I'm just like, I'm giving y'all all giving y'all opinions. Why can't I give mine? And if you don't like it, that's fine. But why are you complaining? I can understand if I'm in your house getting on your nerves, but we on the internet. Whenever I'm on the internet and I see a post I don't like, I scroll past it. Or I comment, I don't like this. This is why I don't like this. I give the person a chance to kind of go back and forth with it. But a lot of people I find in my life, they want to just shut you down. They want to shut you down. They become hell bent on shutting you down. And I remember I was watching an ENTP video because I have to, when I was obsessed with ENTPs, I was obsessed with everything. And so there was this video where there was a clip at the beginning, and it was Jordan Peterson, who I said is an ENTP, and somebody yesterday said he wasn't, but I was just like, whatever, we can talk about it. He uses TI, don't come for me. They said he was an INFJ, and I was like, he uses TI, I know that. And so at the beginning of the video, he said he gave his opinion on a political issue, and he went to sleep. And when he woke up the next day, he had tens of thousands of people trying to shut his opinion down. And he said, how strange is it that tens of thousands of people will work hard to make sure your voice isn't heard? And that was absolutely right.
And it just makes it louder in the long run.
It's not even that, it's the behavior of it.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I'm wrong, right? Let's say I'm wrong. Why don't you trust other people to look at what I say or listen to what I say and say, you know what, that person's wrong, and then move on? Why don't you trust them to believe that I am wrong? Why do you have to rally around to get me to stop?
Did you ever see the video that made him famous, like where the flash mob of all like the transgender people and stuff, where they accused him of having like a white supremacy rally and stuff before that, but he was just like complaining about how they're trying to take away the freedom of speech at his university and make them use like pronouns and things like that?
I've never seen that video, but what I did see, I've seen, Jordan Peterson, his videos in like everybody's goddamn timeline. And so I've seen like clips of him talking, and I've seen, political pundits when they go to universities to talk, like, what's his name? Ben Shapiro. So I've seen like clips of people throwing a fit. And I'm just like, over what? He has the right to come there and talk. Let the man talk. Let's say y'all don't believe him, whatever, everything he says is trash. Other people will think that and they will walk away. Hitler had no power. He had the power that y'all gave him. And that scares me more. When I was reading about Hitler, because of course I had a time period in college where I was obsessed with the Holocaust and learned about the Holocaust. And I watched everything there was to watch about the Holocaust and read articles on it. And I was reading books on it. And as I'm reading through it, because we are taught that Adolf Hitler was the worst thing in the world. He was the worst person in the world. Worse than the devil. And as I'm learning about the Holocaust, I thought to myself, how the hell did millions of people in hundreds of countries co-sign? By not doing anything, a lot of people co-signed it. How did millions of people co-sign Hitler? Isn't that scarier than just one man on the corner screaming some kind of rhetoric?
Yeah, all it took is, there are a lot of assassination attempts on his life, but a handful of people could have just stood up to him and stopped it.
That was scary. Seeing his political rallies, people were just like, they always focus on him. He was very persuasive. He was a good orator. His rhetoric was dangerous for people. Why did y'all all go along with it? Why don't we ever talk about that? Y'all let 6 million people be murdered?
I actually took a class in a university on the Holocaust as a Jewish response to the Holocaust, and a Holocaust survivor came in and spoke to us. It was like one of the most powerful moments in my life. I remember it was crazy.
It's shocking. People always say, people talk about like, evil. The most evil damn thing on the planet look like it's people. What are y'all talking about? Yeah, and we try to detach it, right? Those people over there are evil. You just as human as they are.
Yeah, they say most people are good. I think most people are neutral. They're going to do what benefits them. Like if Trump said, hey, let's round up all the Mexicans and kill them, most people are just going to agree because they don't want to get thrown in jail or killed themselves,
The reality is that people are like reeds in the wind. You can be bent the other way. And so I think that the fact that you can condemn the Holocaust, but before that, there was ethnic cleansing. After that, there was ethnic cleansings. Maybe we have gotten better at it, right? If it happened in 2021, A lot of people step in and probably try to stop it, but it still happens in places. And y'all ain't really that worried about it because that's what human beings are. Like we all up in arms when we up in arms, but then on the other side, y'all killing people.
Yeah. Human nature is very odd.
So this is why I like typology and astrology and history and evolution. I was reading a book on evolution and the beginning of man, and how like a lot of people try to assume that each time period is like the ideal time period, and the way we live in right now is the best version of life. And I'm like, do you really think that 500 years ago they was worried about smartphones? Do you think they care? Do you think it had anything to do with their life? Like,
Yeah, they would have killed for a hospital and a vaccine.
they would have, but because it didn't exist,
They didn't know.
they weren't worried about it.
Yeah.
So I had this argument with a person on the internet the other day about how women need to understand that men built the world and everything that they have, it was built by a man. And I'm like, sir, did you invent that shit? Was it you that did it? You were the person that invented that thing. Just because he was a man doesn't mean it was you. And just because we all benefit from it doesn't mean it's wrong, or it doesn't mean that this is the best timeline. And so then who is right? I don't know. I just don't have an ability to kind of settle on one point of view ever.
It's balance. We wouldn't be able to procreate and go on as a race without women. So
it is balance. And I understand being kind of like men are mistreated and they have like less rights these days. And so I had to bring up to people, y'all didn't complain about this when women didn't have these rights. Like, who was complaining, sir? One, he brought up a lot of fathers don't have custody of their kids. Sir, before the last 70 years, women didn't have any dominion over their own children. For hundreds and thousands of years, men had rights over their kids, not the woman. Y'all, I understand the complaint. It's not fair in 2021. But let's remember that y'all been doing this shit for thousands of years and nobody had a problem with it. So is it that women are a problem, or that women are just behaving like human beings, going too far? We always go too goddamn far. Everybody does.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, their qualms and everything like that, but just two wrongs don't make a right. But
exactly. And it's like, how can we all be a bigger person? Sometimes it's just human nature. Shit.
Yeah, sure. So we're over a half hour in. I'm going to get into the functions a little bit. Can you tell us how it's like being in any hero, any dom, how it's like having all these possibilities around you all the time?
So I thought about this question and how I would explain it. Any is like, it's like a popcorn kernel, a popcorn kernel, like popping into multiple ideas. So when you give me an idea or a premise or a thing or a problem that needs to be fixed, it's like this replicating. Like it just starts to pop, 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 pop. And so a lot of people don't get it because they feel like it's a bunch of worthless nonsense. Like we only need one piece of popcorn. We don't need 10,000 damn pieces. But what happens is I know a lot of the ideas that I come up with are not necessarily viable, but I like to daydream. I remember reading somewhere that perceiving dominance are big daydream, especially intuitive perceivers, NE and NI are big daydreamers. And it's like, I get caught up in like daydreaming through scenarios and daydreaming through ideas. And even if it's not plausible, it's like the desire to daydream is like that. So for me, it becomes like an obsession to do things another way. That's what it feels like. And I hate when, for example, SI, you really feel SI in any when it comes to like work and ideas. For me, whenever I do a job, I can't do it the way it was always done. Like I will not. Oh, well, my boss is very, this is how other people do it. We should do it like this. And I'm just like, throw it away. I'm not doing it. It's garbage. I don't want it. And I will throw it away and I will start over and make something original and unique. It has to be unique because I feel like I can always see a better way. And maybe that sounds arrogant to people who can't see. Like my boss is at any inferior and she recognizes that she cannot see other ways. She told me yesterday, you really good at coming up with ideas and stuff, but I'm not like that. And so it just becomes an obsession. Like once I get the idea in my head, this is what I want to see, even if it's extra, even if it takes more time, even if it's dramatic, even if there was an easier way, I'm doing it.
Yeah, I agree with you a lot on that. Just like the SI users, like ISFJs, they're not so bad. They're a little bit more flexible, but like ESTJs, ISTJs, they just want things done the same thing over and over again, even if it's not working. If it's not working anymore, they still got to do it the same way. Then like that's why we have these broken systems and stuff. And I know you're a different part of the world, but yeah, that's just kind of
Is
what
that they become comfortable. That's what I don't like about SI users over time. Even ISFJs, I like them, but over time they start to really grate on me because they become so they look for a place to basically sit down and stay, and they don't want to move. They don't want to have to think about moving. So I always say SI users, and by users I mean SJs, all the SJs, dominant or auxiliary. SI users, they are the types to stay on a boat when it sinks. Everybody else started to move off. Like, hey, this ain't working no more. We got to go. We got to find another way. They start building rafts and leaving. But SI users, they will stay and sink with that damn boat.
that's why I was glad when I heard you say, like, I love my job. I've been there 8 or 9 years, whatever you said, but I'm ready to move on and grow. Like, wow, that's a lot. Like even like NTPs don't even want to do that, or NPs don't want to do that. But that's good
Yeah.
that you're
So
doing that.
the assumption that NTPs or NPs kind of like I read somewhere they quit jobs every 2 years or they don't stick to projects that long. And I think it comes down to how you were raised because I was raised in an extremely unstable environment. When you spend your whole life in instability, you seek some stability.
Yeah.
So I saw somebody say like, as an MP, I hate living in the same house for a long. Oh no, I'm not moving. Like I lived in my apartment 7 years. Like I hate moving. I hate
Oh,
like sensory things. I hate changing them. So my job, I stayed there because my boss basically gives me free reign to do what I want. So
yeah.
she gives
That's
me the idea, the problem, and she doesn't behave like a boss. She lets me do what I want my way. And she's just like, okay, we can do it like that. If it wasn't like that, might have quit earlier.
yeah. Autonomy is a great thing to have, and it's becoming more rare as we go on, I think. All right, you talked about TI quite a bit. Seems like you're a pretty big fan of TI, and you do use it a lot. Can you tell us a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I use TI a lot. And people try to say I've had people tell me like I like ENTPs, NESCPs when they have weak TI and FE. And I'm like, shut up. You like them weak because it makes you feel comfortable. Shut up. TI parent is probably it's like my first of all, TI is my hands down favorite function. Even I found myself kind of preferring the way TI users in general express themselves because they have
Mhm.
this like laid back, like let's think about it in a different way. Why does everybody have to be so overly attached to this way kind of attitude? Like they're not pressed. But my favorite part of TI is just the ability to like laser straight into the middle of something. Like I
Mhm.
saw another YouTuber said that TI is like fire. It breathes. TI parent is fire, and it will breathe fire on you to get you to change. It's like a fire burning down a forest, and when the fire devastates the entire forest, that's true. But new life, more life blooms in its path because something has to die in order for life to bloom. So for me, TI is my favorite. It's my favorite function. Even now, I started to think if I was a TI Dom, because I use TI so much, but it's like I use TI in such a forceful way. TI Doms, they have their opinions, but they kind of like, I'm not gonna say that because I don't want to deal with the fallout. But me, I'm just like, well, I guess it's time to put on armor and cause a bunch of trouble and get in trouble. So for me, it becomes a very to the center of everything. So it's not about being critical. I'm not trying to criticize people. I always try to say what the truth of a thing is. It could be an idea, it could be a behavior, it could be a problem, it could be a solution, but it's always trying to see clearly what the real intention of a thing is and say it. For example, if you want to talk to me or compliment me, oh, I really like you, I'll say, no, you don't. I know you don't like me. You just saying all of that so to get me to do this thing that you want me to do. So let's be honest. Like you're not manipulating me. And people be like, I don't understand why you're saying it like that. Uh, uh, you don't know my intention. It's like I do know because I've watched you. And for me, I know a lot of people give Ti a lot of crap for not trusting other people's opinion, but there's a reason. Because for me, whenever I do my own research on stuff, I always find a bunch of flaws that I wouldn't have found if I didn't look into it. And it goes so deep as to be, for example, I have a chronic illness. I was diagnosed earlier with this year. And so the doctor, they have a treatment plan for it. you do it like this. And I listened to his words. And then, of course, I didn't. I did my own research and I read a few books on it. And I found out that the treatment method he prescribes works, but there's better treatment methods. But the reason he didn't tell me is because a lot of people with the same illness, they don't like to do it. See, this is what the danger of TE. TE will ignore other information as long as one idea is held as most right because other people agree to it. He gave me the most done treatment option, but then I had to go to him and say, yeah, but I read this, and this also works and is more effective in the long term. And he was like, oh yeah, that's true. I was just like, sir, oh my God. So for me, TI is, you have to double check everything. It's like a virus scanning software. Every file is potentially dangerous and it will flag any misinformation, any incongruency. And it feels kind of like an alarm system. Like when I hear something, it feels like it doesn't make sense first. And then it gets my attention and I become laser focused on why doesn't this piece make sense? Why is it out of place? And so I will start to investigate that piece. I know TPs all do that, but people get annoyed when you start to do that because when you start to pick apart, for example, their views that don't make sense, you start to pick apart their beliefs that don't make sense. Instead of correcting them, people will kind of be like, I don't understand why you digging. So TI digs. It's like a pig and shit digging in the ground for the truth. And I find a lot of people just don't like it. It's my favorite though.
I appreciate it for one. Like I had a similar experience. I kept getting gout and I made poor health choice. And they said it was red meat, but I started reading it was fructose mostly, like the natural sugars that are in fruit and some vegetables. And they recommended like eating cherries, but cherries are loaded with fructose. So I stopped eating that shit and my gout went away. And I told the doctor this. It was like, well, it's not the red meat. Like I eat plenty of red meat. It's not red meat, dude. It's the fructose.
That's the thing. I don't think doctors have any negative intention. I don't think they are not qualified to do their job. I just think they are human. And so anything that can error has to be double checked.
And when you go to school, they only teach you what they want you to know. You don't learn what you need to know really in school.
Exactly. And then people, they get angry when anybody kind of questions that system.
And like I was talking like my nurse practitioner, my psychiatric nurse practitioner, I was talking to her about a medication called clonidine because I have trouble sleeping. And I read books on it about this guy named Dr. Bruce Perry. And well, it's a long story. Anyways, he said it's a very good treatment for PTSD. So I was just trying to tell her about that. And she just shut me down. And well, I went to school for this and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, lady.
And I try to think about it like if I was a doctor or a nurse, I would probably live my entire career learning everything there was to learn. Because for me, this is another difference between T and TI. For TI users, they will listen to any source and decide. It doesn't like TE users care a lot about credential. Like, well, he has a doctorate, he has a medical degree. It's like, you are not infallible though. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
So for me, I will literally listen to a doctor. And then for my chronic illness, I actually read a book written by a person who is not a doctor or a medical professional at all. But he did pull, or his book is basically links to studies and analyzing studies that have proven that these methods work better than this one, but this one is more prescribed because most people don't want to do this shit. And y'all need to know. And I was like, well, thank you for making this book. So I think that TE users, they cling a little bit too heavily to what is kind of licensed and they don't use logic. And TI is just like, does this make sense to you as a person with a brain? And you like, no, it doesn't. Okay, then it's trash.
Yeah, but it's not always the case. When I used to work with kids with behavioral issues, there was another psychiatric nurse practitioner. She was an Entp and she was just so stuck up and her ways were the best. TI can be pretty arrogant a lot of times, but
I agree.
Yeah, and she's like,
but I think
she like kept calling herself, I'm a doctor. No, you're a nurse practitioner. You're not quite a doctor. So no.
You almost a skip away from a doctor.
Yeah, you're not
but
a doctor.
It's definitely different. The responsibility level is different. I think the TI definitely can be arrogant. For example, when I feel like I'm right, like a dog with a bone, like a dog with a goddamn bone, good luck. And I think that what it is with TI users is that TI can kind of see very zoomed in, like immediately, like that's wrong. And for me, I can argue with another TI user long enough to convince them they are wrong. But other people, they give up. For example, feeling perceivers, FJs, TJs, they will give up on the TP. And so the TP will be left thinking they're right because you gave up too soon. But me, I'll go to the end.
I know I had like an INTP friend, and like he would be dead wrong about something. I would have to like pull out books and go through all this information and like, look, it's in multiple places. It's this. It's been found that this is this. You know, he's like, oh, okay.
And then they'll back down. They'll be like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Then they usually appreciate it, but you know, you have to hit them in the head with a shovel a few times to get it through. But
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
yeah, there's always downsides. Anyways, how about FE? It didn't sound like you're too big on FE.
For me, I've told people FE and ENTPs and ESTPs, it seems like it's like a toy.
Mm-hmm.
It's called a child function. It's a toy. You pick it up when you want to use it, and then you put it down when you don't care about it anymore. And you just think of it as this detached things. Whereas for FJ, for all the feeling judges, FE is like a thing they carry around everywhere, and they almost never put it down. But for me, it's like I don't take it seriously, and it comes out as when you want to be charming, you can. But then when you don't feel like being charming, you know how to cause just enough trouble to piss people off. And it comes out as, I saw somebody explain it really well in TI users. TI users use FE to understand how you feel. They can see, and that's true. I can see exactly how other people feel, and I can know why.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't care to ask. Like it's a bit highly empathetic, but not sympathetic. I won't ask you, oh, you look sad. Like FJ, oh, you look so sad today. Did something happen? Me, I won't ask you. I'll just pretend like I don't see it. And it comes across as kind of like charming and playful and knowing what to say and how to say it to get a reaction. And that can be negative or positive.
Yeah, I used to work with this ESTP guy. He got fired for, well, his NI grip and all that. But anyways, he's like, oh, I want you to be more excitable today and all this and stuff. I just told him I'm just not that kind of person. And ever since I told him that, you know, we were real and straightforward with each other. And he was pretty much telling me how the FE is just a bunch of bullshit for him.
Yeah, you just don't take it seriously because FE is to some degree fake.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And I find that a lot of
fake.
FJs don't like to talk about that.
Yeah, and everyone's like, you know, like they want to make other people feel better, but it's really self-serving because of the FI and the shadow. They want to make themselves feel good for making you feel better. So
because
it's not
they
really
will
like
feel right.
they're not doing it just for the sake to make you feel better. They're doing it for their own self-serving reasons.
Yeah, they will. I find with a lot of FJs is they feel uncomfortable. And so they want to smooth out this awkwardness. So they start to act. And they'll try to make it seem like it's for you. And it's like, you can't deal with the awkwardness. It's not me. When I cause, that's why I don't like IFJs over time. When I cause chaos, I know I'm doing it. I'm doing it on purpose. I probably have a reason to do it. The only problem you have with it is that you feel like it affects you and your image and reputation. Mm-hmm. Because we talked about this in private. You agreed with me. So that's why we always kind of fall out in the end.
Yeah, and they'll be the first one to lop your head off too if you don't comply and feel better.
Especially INFJs. They always try, INFJs always trying to swoop in and tell you how you could act better. And I always argue with them.
They're real self-righteous, like do as I say, not do as I do sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's like, what gets me is that I can understand if it's directed to you, but when two people are talking and it has nothing to do with you, who are you to come and try to corral this situation?
Especially when they don't act that way. They don't act that way themselves.
I find INFJs to be kind of some of the, I say sneaky. They have the sneak factor to them where they will, like I know, I work with kids and I know an INFJ boy and he is in competition with, they study competition, they competitors for grades. And he is in competition with an INFP boy and an ISTJ boy. And what he will do, the ISTJ and INFP will kind of mess around a lot. And he will kind of pretend to like play off with them and not really study that hard when they're around. But then he'll go home and study super hard and beat them every single time. He has this kind of like playful, I'm not trying that hard attitude. And then he'll kill them in the end. And they'll never beat him.
That's how INTJs are. We're really secretly competitive, not really outright competitive, but we're secretly competitive.
But I find that because INTJs don't have FE, they don't know how to soften kind of the hard exterior to make them seem kind of playful. And I find INFJs, they kind of seem more personable, but NJs in general are all about themselves and their own future.
Yeah.
But I find NFJs to be more manipulative about it.
Yeah, INTJs are usually pretty cut and dry for the most part.
ENTP, I mean, ENTJs don't care. Me first. What's the problem?
Yeah. All right. And your inferior function, SI, how's that been for you?
So I got a huge dose of SI inferior this past weekend. I had a test. There's this test I've been signing up because I live overseas, so I have a visa and I have to maintain my visa. I have to change. I'm trying to change my visa to a different visa. Anybody who's never lived overseas, they don't know that you don't move to another country and have all this freedom to do whatever you want. You have visas. Your visa is assigned to a certain thing. You can only do that thing. If you want to do something else, you need another visa that allows it. So I'm trying to change my visa. I've been trying to change my visa since the end of 2019, but we all know coronavirus happened at the end of 2019. And so what happened was I've had this test. I did all the classes. I've had this test and it was canceled because the country I live in, the corona cases are getting bigger. And so when they get bigger, the government cancels all the programs. And so this past weekend, this test has been canceled like 5 times. And I was like, finally, I'm going to take it this weekend. I booked the tickets for the train. I'm going. And on Sunday night, on Saturday night, I checked my train tickets and they're gone. And I'm like, I know I booked my train tickets. Why aren't they here? The test was on Saturday, not Sunday.
Oh.
And I was just like, I can't. I was laying over. I washed all my clothes, cleaned my house. I was studying for the test all day on Saturday. It was on Saturday. I was so angry. This is the final time this year I can take it. Now I have to wait another month to take it. But SI inferior is I call it information in ENTPs is stored in SI inferior. So people think that any DOMs kind of like seem to be able to come up with something out of nowhere, and it's not. It's like I learned it somewhere, but I can't tell you where. It's like really weird storage way where the information is there, but it's vague.
Yeah,
like
it's
I know,
bucket.
right? I know a thing, but I don't know where I learned it or how I know it. It's like what is it? An eye floating. It floats in your eye, but if you look at it, it disappears.
Pulling a rabbit out of a hat somewhere in there.
Right. And it's like you hate repetition, like chores or cleaning. Like I hate the dishes, washing clothes. It keeps repeating itself, and I can't tolerate it. Oh, I hate SI inferior. I wish we lived in any DOM world, but we don't.
Yeah, it would be a lot more interesting for sure.
It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work.
Yeah. Like, when do you want to show up? Whenever you feel like it.
Which is really weird because I show up on time. I know any users get blamed for not showing up, but like I'm really weird about, I don't like my time being wasted. If you waste my time, I will be mad. If I don't come, I'm dead or in the hospital.
Sound like you're pretty deep in your INTJ shadow as a kid.
Yeah, so that came from being like a kid. When I was a kid, I was surrounded by so much just toxic people, toxic behavior. And as kids don't really have agency to do anything in their life. So what I did was just wait and make a plan to leave. And that's the most NI thing ever, to sit and make your plan and see your own future and know how you have to get there. And if you have to wait or endure some time and get there. So that's probably why I thought I was an INTJ or ENTJ at the beginning.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't really type myself until late 20s, so I was pretty integrated and I figured it out. I mean, I took tests like you and I got INFJ, INTJ twice, and INTP, and I just looked at the descriptions like, yeah, INTJ works, and kind of forgot about it. But speaking of the shadow, you talked about your NI opposing personality, nemesis, whatever you want to call it, a little bit, like how you're planning on getting the hell out. How else do you use it?
For me, it becomes like people consider ENTPs to be like really scattered and always jumping from one thing to the next, and that's true. But then it comes down to when ENTPs get something that they like or that they really need to see happen, they become like obsessed. Like it becomes an obsession. Like it has to be done right, which is why a lot of people mistype who Steve Jobs is ISTP. He was an ENTP. I read a book on Steve Jobs recently. He's a goddamn ENTP. And it was like, he can't be an ENTP because he was really fixated on Apple happening a certain way. And he used to be like a slave. He used to be like a really, really stern with his employees, and he wanted it done a certain way. And it's like, I get into that attitude when I have something, which is why I do a lot of stuff my own self. Because, for example, when I deal with my boss, I'll give her an idea, and in my opinion, she ruins it. And so it's like, I can see how this can work, but you have to trust me to get it there. I see the whole path there. But she's an SI user. She doesn't. She only trusts what she knows, and she doesn't trust any shit that's new. And so for me, it becomes a kind of an obsessive move out of my way, kind of switch in ENTPs. They flip it down and then move.
Yeah, it's called development. You don't have to act like a stereotype of your type to get where you need to go. You need to learn to integrate yourself and kind of adapt. All right. What about your TE Cynics Witch?
So for this, the TE, I always feel like I don't understand the TE. What is it? Critical parent.
Yeah,
but then I think about it like questioning everybody else's ability to be right, and I'm just like, I don't care what it is. You can tell me anything, and I'll just think, I'll be like, is it right? Are you correct? Are you unbiased? Let me double check. Let me see what it is, because I don't trust you to get. You could have a damn degree in it. I don't even have a degree in it, but I still double think that it could be wrong.
Yeah, I get that. That's kind of a good thing and a bad thing to have.
Exactly.
You kind of come off as, I think that's where the arrogance comes from. It's not exactly TI, it's the TE in the shadow a lot of times.
It is. It's that you can be wrong, and I'm gonna prove that you. I sometimes think that TI gets kind of carried away.
Yeah. Okay.
And once you get in that, like for me, I have no dog in the fight, but I will fight like I got a dog in that goddamn fight. Like I got $50,000 on this fight, and it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. And you talked a bit about FI Trickster. I kind of have a hard time comprehending this one. So can you enlighten me a bit?
For me, it comes down to not liking things specifically. Like if you ask me what my favorite TV show is, I don't have one. But I have shows that I watch on repeat, and I would never call it a favorite. If you ask me what my favorite food is, I don't have one. If you ask me what my favorite color is, I don't have one. If you ask me what my set opinion on a thing is, I don't have one. And I don't have the ability to really comprehend how other people do. Like people will be like, I really love this TV show. I watch it every day. I know all the facts about it. I have posters in my room. Like I don't have posters in my room. I don't like any music group. I don't like anything. And I don't understand how people form set attachments to stuff. And it comes out as not kind of knowing what you want. And so for a lot of my life, I think for the last few years, I've kind of floated around not knowing what I've wanted. And now, right now, I've kind of locked in on what I want. And I've been going after that for like the last 2 years. And it also comes out as not liking FI DOMs. They get on my damn nerves.
Oh yeah, like ENTPs, they kind of fight with like cats and dogs with INFPs, it seems like a lot of times.
INFPs, in my opinion, are very thin-skinned.
Yeah.
And they don't allow other people to, like, you can be thin-skinned, go ahead, I don't care. But let me have my opinion.
Yeah, I love INFPs, to be honest, but I terrify them. And it's funny because I had an ISTP friend who has FE demon, and I'm like, I bought like these pecan sandy cookies, and he's like, why do you buy those? I like them. Like, what do you mean you like them? Like, I like them. I don't know.
I find ISTPs are more, I don't know, they seem, TI DOM seem more emotionally understanding than TI parent. Like I know a lot of TI DOMs date a lot of FI DOMs, and I don't understand it personally.
TI DOMs that date FI DOMs?
Yeah, it's a thing. And I've seen it with like a lot of, when I'll watch videos of TI ISTPs, especially because they're more common, and they have a more kind of let people do what they want at it. They have like an apathy, and it comes across as caring, but it's mostly like, I can't be bothered to argue with you, so I'm gonna just let you do what you want.
Yeah.
And I find that they can tolerate FI DOMs more than I can't tolerate them. I can't. Like we will fight. And the more mad you get, the more I will wind you up.
Yeah, I hear like INTP, INFP is a pretty common relationship.
Yeah, actually, so I got in trouble the other day for saying that INFP behavior is not cute. Being illogical because you mad, that's not cute. Who likes that? And they all got mad, of course.
Yeah, and they just can't handle the truth any way, shape,
which is
or
really
form.
Weird is that in person I know a lot of FI DOMs. Like, what the hell? Why are they so plentiful? But feeling perceivers are plentiful in the world anyway. But FI DOMs I noticed for some reason with INFP more than ISFPs. ISFPs tend to have like a harder core, not as expressive, not as upset. Maybe internally they are, but INFPs, you can see kind of like cracking. When you tell them something they don't want to hear, their faces start to change, and it becomes painful in the head to hear that criticism, even if it's right. And they try to get away from it. I saw the other day a YouTuber said that TI demon runs away from the truth. They run, and they do run. we can't get along. I can't.
Yeah, ISFPs have that SC to kind of give them a little bit more of a oomph, I think.
Yeah.
All right. What about SE demon? This one's always interesting to me.
See, SE demon, I feel like we talk about like MBTI and typology with like the demon function being like the weakest, and the demon function I feel like plays a huge role in people's personalities, actually.
I think
Because
trickster is the weakest, I think.
You really? Oh, the trickster I would say is the weakest, but I would say the dominant. I've heard people say the dominant and the demon kind of work on an axis with each other. They kind of are connected into each other. They flow constantly into, well, it's all interconnected, right? So they flow constantly into each other and they can cause bad behavior. So for me personally, SE demon becomes like burning the world down. Like somebody said the other day, ENTPs are probably the meanest type when mad, and I would agree. ENTPs are the meanest type. Like I get mad like every 7 years, and when I get mad, I've noticed that people are terrified. I'm talking about physically shaking. Like what the just happened? Like a nuclear bomb just went off. Because I'm usually like a happy person, not happy. I'm usually like I'll complain about stuff like that doesn't make sense, or stop lying, that's bullshit, whatever. But if you continue to pick at me and get me into that attitude, like you've been doing it for a long time. It didn't happen overnight. It took time. And for me, SE demon becomes like the desire to destroy everything. It's like the Joker, the Heath Ledger's version of the Joker. He destroys for destruction's sake, and it becomes you did something to me, so I will destroy everything about you. And ENTPs, I talked with a few other people about it. They said that they collect information on people, not intentionally, but I notice everything you do, everything you say, and you build an internal profile of who that person is. And if you know the inside of a building, you can blow it up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not like bragging, but if I want to destroy a person, if they get me in that mind space, because I don't have that mindset of, well, I could destroy you any moment. And if you bother me, I'll do it. I don't have that attitude, but it's like when I get really angry, it just clicks. And it's like suddenly you planting bombs all over that building. You ready to blow that goddamn thing up.
And this, folks, is why INTJs don't like to disclose things about themselves, because information is vulnerability.
I'm the same way. You see here, I saw some of your other videos and people are like, yeah, I'm studying this. I live here. I'm a professional here. This is my job. I don't give any information to people ever. Even in my real life, if you ask me questions, like my boss will ask me like, oh, what do you like to do on the weekend? And I give a generic answer. I'll be like, oh, watch TV. I'm not watching TV. Yeah. Like I will not give you. I don't usually ask other people detailed information either, but they like to tell, other people like to talk about themselves. But it's just like, I don't like people knowing stuff about me. I don't like it. And I remember a long time ago, I had a friend say, he turned and he said, I don't know anything about you. Well, it looks like I'm doing my job then.
That's why I like SE demon, because my SI demon doesn't like to disclose shit about myself.
I find that SI DOMs can kind of be SFJs no, but ISTJs can be like that too. Really, really, really private.
Yeah. That FI child, I think, does that.
It's dangerous to disclose information because in my experience, you see dealing with other people, you see them kind of use shit against other people all the time. And I'm just like, nah, no, thank you.
Kind of one purpose of this channel is for me to expose my vulnerabilities a little bit and show myself, because if somebody wants to know about me, they're going to know about me. The way
I think I understand doing YouTube, but like I don't think I could ever put my face on YouTube. I don't want I would, if I was on YouTube, I would be infamous anyway. And like, how people on YouTube will find every goddamn thing out about you and just put it all on the internet. And I would never, like, your face being here, they don't even need to know your name. They have your face and they will find you. And I'm just like, that's too much for me.
Yeah, I get it. All right, let's wrap this up a little bit. So these are questions I ask pretty much everybody. Do you have a favorite type?
Generally, I get along with most intuitive thinkers anyway. I don't know why. It's like a camaraderie. Maybe not close friends, maybe not good friends, but we get along anyway. But I don't know. I prefer TPs, but I prefer NTPs the most, but TI users in general. And if not NTs or if not TJs.
Fair enough. Yeah, usually rationals go for rationals and the temperaments. All right. Do you have a least favorite? I know your FI trickster might be a little hard for this, but
It's not. It's FI DOMs. It's not FI DOMs. It's FI users in general. All the FPs, like even ESFPs and ENFPs, like they okay. I can get along with. We can laugh. We can talk. Haha. Everything is funny. But then they get into like this attitude of when they get into an attitude, they don't want to hear anything that conflicts with what they feel, even if it's true. Like they very honest. Like a lot of people are like, I'm surprised that you're an INFP because you are very logical. And it's like they very logical about stuff that don't affect them. They can look at another person and say, that don't make sense. That's stupid. But then when it's them and they upset, you can't tell them nothing. Yeah. And I don't like that. I don't like, and other people kind of like, my ENFP friend is illogical sometimes, but I just put up with it. Not me. Move away from me. Go away. I don't need it.
This questions always get mixed around no matter how often I change them. Is there something you'd like INTJs or other people to know about you?
About me personally?
You, or just as an ENTP, you in general?
Let's see ENTPs then. I think that people need to understand that ENTPs don't mean harm. I saw a video the other day and somebody mentioned that ENTPs think that it is disrespectful to hold back the honest, brutal truth. And I think that is true. It might hurt your feelings, but sometimes people's feelings need to be hurt in order to live in reality. Like, in order for you to grow, sometimes shit got to be burned down. And if it's me who has to do it, then so be it. And I tell people, ENTPs and ESTPs help people a lot, but y'all don't ever give them credit for it. Maybe they hurt your feelings, but after they hurt your feelings, you went and you made the change that you wasn't making this whole time. But because they bruised your ego so hard, you can't lie to yourself anymore. And I just wish more people kind of appreciated that. And a lot of people don't.
I do. I really do. Like, I don't have a lot of ENTPs in my life anymore, but they're one of the best people to like run something by, and if it's stupid, they're going to tell you.
Right.
ESTPs can do the same thing, but they just can't really do it in like an abstract, deep way.
Right. And if it's stupid, an ENTP will say that's dumb, but wait, let me tell you of a better way, how we can make it work. And it's like, who is it? I saw somebody say that any likes to show you your own future. And it's like that. I can help a person without asking anything in return. But then if you say something that upsets their feelings, then you're the worst person ever. It's just like, see, this is why I'm a loner. I like to spend a lot of time alone because people are so back and forth, wishy-washy, duplicitous, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I can resonate with you there. All right. Is there anything you'd like to know about INTJs?
For me, the biggest downside of INTJs in general is like the whole thinking that they know everything. And I'm just like, I've already seen the path there. I've already seen what this person is going to do. I've already seen the answer. And I'm just like, why are y'all like that? Like, let's say I know NE and NI both can see kind of future possibilities, but NI users will have this whole, they will ride stuff off because they've seen one path that is the best one. And for me personally, I don't understand where that attitude, how you can have that attitude. It's bizarre to me.
Well, with our NI, we run these scenarios through our head and we think about something very, very long time. But it is kind of an arrogance things that we do need to get over, because sometimes like somebody will say something I haven't considered, and I try to keep an open mind about it. But we kind of do have a pretty good judge if something's going to work or something isn't going to work. So we just kind of know in our head, and people judge us for it and call us arrogant, call us crazy, but we just kind of have this knowing. Right? Then what's that?
I said, and then it usually will happen, or similarly.
Yeah, it's not always 100%, but sometimes your NI just will misguide you. I talked to an INFJ about this in my last podcast I haven't released yet, but sometimes your NI will just pull the rug from underneath you and teach you a lesson.
Yeah, I've seen that with INTJs. So a lot of people in typology communities, they love talking about, I have a bunch of INTJ friends, and I'm just like, how do INTJ is one of the most uncommon types. How do y'all all know a bunch of INTJ? How is that possible? So I always question, like, stop. So I've known a few INTJs, and they just have that arrogance, right? And so they'll go, I'm going to do this by myself. And I'm just like, okay, bye. And they'll go do it, and they'll fail. And it's the look on their face when they fail and they realize they were wrong. Is like their whole worldview is just turned upside down.
Yeah, there's a big misconception that INTJs have that they don't need anybody. I think INTJs they need people, just not as much as most other types. And they
Or
do
not in the
need,
same way.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, we just need like a handful of people in our lives. We don't need a lot of people, but we're not always right. We don't always know all the circumstances. And it's kind of like our NI doesn't exactly work like we just know these things. It's information that we've gotten before. Like when I'm making these astrology videos with Xeon, like, I just don't know. Let's just do something, because I'll sit there and think about it and I won't do anything. So let's just do something,
Mm.
like this project, like starting this channel. Like, I kept running these scenarios in my head. This ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. Nothing's gonna be perfect. I'm just gonna get a camera and record, and it's gonna suck, and it's gonna gradually get better. Just all there is to
Exactly.
it.
That's life, right?
Yeah. Nothing's good at first. All right. Well, that's all I have for you. Do you have any questions, comments, anything you'd like to add?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, I appreciate you getting on here, and you seem like a pretty private person, so I'm glad you got on here and did this. I think it
Yeah, I
was
am
very
private.
informative.
I
If
hope
you,
so.
well, if
I
you
hope
like
that
this,
people get like a more of a, I guess, wider view of, because the problem with MBTI typology is that there's no set, unlike astrology. Astrology is you have the chart you have based on written fact when you were born and where you were born. But typology kind of lets people pick their own types, and a lot of people mistype.
mhm,
And when people mistype, they start to take actual people of that type out of context, and it becomes like a warped image. And I feel like that happens a lot, especially to ENTPs. Like there's a lot of ENFPs and ESFPs that mistype as ENTPs, and they take that so far out of bounds. And I'm just like, that's not how ENTPs are, but okay. And I just wish that people, and a lot of people kind of don't like ENTPs based off what they don't like about ESFPs and ENFPs, I found. And it's like y'all just really misunderstand. So hopefully people watching this video can understand that like ENTPs are not like the devil. I've seen ENTPs called the devil, and I'm just like, what are you saying? Like, what is that?
yeah, they're not all that bad. They're just, you guys are really big on the truth.
But what's the problem with that? That's what I ask people. Like, tell me. And most people can't answer that question. And if you don't want to answer it, that's fine. But admit that.
I've gotten this argument with people too. Like, if everybody just told each other the truth, the world would be a much better place.
Right. I saw somebody say ENTPs are very, the phrase brutal honesty.
Mm-hmm.
People try to say, yeah, but the key word is brutal. No, the key word is that it's honest. You admitted that is the truth. What are y'all saying? So should a doctor hold back? Did you have cancer because it's gonna hurt your feelings? What are y'all saying? You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
that's the kind of person you need there. You don't want to INFP like, oh, I don't want to hurt their
Talking,
feelings.
oh, you sick, but not that sick. That's ridiculous.
You'll
So
be
I don't
okay.
know. Exactly. You understand what I'm saying? And it's like, I just wish that people kind of understood TPs in general. I feel like TPs are some of the most misunderstood types, because people think that it hurts my feelings, it is bad. And sometimes it hurts my feelings, but it was good. Like medicine tastes nasty, but it helps you.
Yep. As Carl Jung said, you can't come into consciousness without pain.
Exactly. And I think that unfortunately in typology communities, from what I have experienced being in them on and off for 10 years, is that a lot of people who just don't want to know themselves join in, and it kind of ruins the experience for a lot of people.
Yeah,
But for me,
sure.
I try to spread honesty, and I try to spread accurate information, and try to spread, I guess, I try to keep the conversation going, but a lot of people don't like to do that. And for me, it's like, why are you here then?
Yeah, some people just need it in doses. It is what it is, I guess.
That's true.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that's it.
All
I gotta
right.
get ready to go to work.
That's about bedtime here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, if you like this content, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment below if you're an ENTP and you can resonate with what PorknSheep just said. I can't get over your username. It's funny. You could add me on Discord and social media, INTJ equation, all the good stuff's down in the description below. Thank you for going beyond the clickbait, and have a great day.